All right, we're adding one new owner for next year. It's Guy. So just like last year, I made a video for informational and transparency purposes, showing how I was going to generate new horses for to fill out the expansion draft. So that's what this is. All right, last year's expansion draft worked the way it was supposed to. The goal was to allow the four new owners to be competitive and so that it would be fair, but without accidentally allowing them to gain an outsized advantage. I generated 50 new horses, which is a standard batch of 40. I normally make them in batches of 40. And then a second batch of 40 from which I only took the top 10 horses. So since that worked the way it was supposed to, I'm going to recreate that system. But we only have one new owner instead of four, so we'll do the same thing and then divide it by four. Um, Shortly, I'll tell you how we're going to simulate the auction draft style, uh, even though there's only one new owner. But first, how we'll generate the horses. So last year, I did the batch of 40, and then and the second batch of 40 from which we only took the top 10 horses. So this year, um, 50 divided by 4 is 12 and a half. So I'll generate 13 new horses. Um, I'll break, I'll generate the horses and then sort them by how good they are. And then break it into groups of four and take one from randomly from each group. I don't want to just take 10 random horses because they could be all the top horses or all the bottom horses. But if I split it up like this, we should get a pretty normal distribution. And then from these 10, I'll take one of the top three, one of the bottom three, and one from the middle four. So it could end up being, the third best, fifth best, 12th and 15th best horses, or it could be something like that. It'll just be they'll be randomly chosen from each group of four. So this should give Guy about the same odds at success as the four newcomers last year. Um, each unowned horse will be available to Guy in the draft other than 2-year-olds. And well, so it's going to be the 13 new horses plus the unowned ones that aren't 2-year-olds or retired or injured or nursing. The way I'm going to manufacture the expansion draft environment is I'm going to give Guy a cap of money, and then each horse is going to have a price. So we've had two expansion drafts before. Both of them gave owners use it or lose it money. So there was no incentive to save even a penny. So I can go back, and I've done this. I went back to those and I saw what percentage of a stable's money people were willing to spend at different ages and grades. Um, and then I can easily compare the those numbers over two drafts and come up with what appropriate prices should be for the available horses. Um, so, for example, in the first draft, if D D grade 3-year-olds, people on average spent X percent of their funds, and then in the second year they spent X percent. I can find out generally what the cost was, and then assign if there's any grade D 3-year-olds. The cost to Guy will be that percentage of the amount that is available to him. And then, so I'm going to use that data and then I'll adjust it where necessary to make it logical to account for weird occurrences. Like maybe someone spent a bizarre amount of money on an H grade horse, but it was a one-off thing. But to account for weird occurrences in small sample sizes. Uh, this is maybe just fun. I estimate there's only a 20 to 30% chance that an A grade horse is generated. If one is generated, it costs Guy a fortune to purchase it because that's how much you guys spent on A grade horses in expansion drafts before. Um, but of course, it's not all about A grade horses. You can win without them. Nate's won both championships, and he's never had an A or even B grade horse. And then I've got 17 or 18 names picked out that I'll randomly assign to the 13 new horses. So, uh, four or so of them will go back in to my stack to use later. but I'll randomly assign them like I always do. All right, so coming up next is the 13 new horses. I'm going to pause this to generate them and come back. But by the time this video is posted, your My Stables assessment pages will already be updated. All right, I'll be right back. Good to see you again. I have returned. Okay, drum roll. Here are the 13 new horses generated for the expansion draft. The ones that Guy doesn't purchase will become, unowned horses in the league. So it starts at the top with A grade 4-year-old Dirksen Caicos. After that, there's also Old Timey Feel, Flatlander, Metaverse, Orange Blossom, Culprit, Earl's in Trouble, Dork Dynamite, State Street and 7200 South, Going to Bed Early, Bubba Buffering, Deliveroo, and Yin Yang Triplet. So like everyone else, Guy will get to see what horses are available in the draft ahead of time, and he can do some research. But just like was true for everyone else, he won't see the prices until the draft starts. And there will be a time limit on the draft because the rest of you didn't know how much horses were going to cost when the draft started and you had to adapt. So that's how we'll do it. All right, good luck to Guy and everyone else.